love my countdown. Gotta have a countdown. Hey, what's up, guys? We are officially live, man. Hey, listen, welcome to a special edition of Impact Culture, the podcast. We're kicking off a new series called Men's Club Monday. Hey, our goal is to provide a safe place for men to come on and just talk about what it's like to be a man in this modern world. I got some super awesome guests here tonight, man. We got Dr. Kendall Jasper. He is part of Docking a Dude, man. Also part owner of ARJ Community Mental Health Agency. Brooklyn, New York native, came here to Charlotte on a basketball scholarship. We're gonna talk about that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how that happened, but anyway, man, he is a father, a husband, business owner, man. He's a pillar in the community, man. Coaching high school basketball. Just a phenomenal, kind of a decent golfer, you know what I'm saying? He can't beat me yet, but welcome Dr. Kendall Jasper to the show. Also, I got my man Coach Pab. Man, Pab is a pretty awesome guy as well, man. We got my man T Bizzle.
You know it.
The Biz with T Bizzle podcast, my homie riding shotgun, and also my homeboy, Mr. Cal Jenkins, the owner of Elite Pro Window Tinting, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
Correct. So, man, we're going to kick it off, man. Everybody just introduce yourself, man. We're going to start with you, Dr. Jasper. Go ahead and let the world know who you are.
Yeah, as you said, my name is Dr. Kendall Jasper. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Listen, man, I'm a hybrid. I've been here long enough to say that I'm from Charlotte now, bro. I moved in 92, and I ain't looked back since, baby. So, you know, I spent half of my a fair amount of my childhood in Brooklyn, enough to keep this New York accent. I'm from Brooklyn, North Carolina now, baby.
Is that Brooklyn, North Carolina?
I'm not going back. I love New York for what it made me, but I'm a Charlotte boy, man. You know what I mean?
Hear you, brother. I hear you, brother. My man, I hear you, dog. So my man, Coach Pab, because I'm a dad, man. He founded that program, Because I'm a Dad. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Pab.
Well, kind of like you said, I'm Because I'm a Dad is just something that I started a little over a year ago, just helping out dads, man, who grew up without their dad, actually learn how to be dads themselves. I didn't know that was a big struggle. It was a big struggle for me when I had my boys, and so, you know, that's pretty much what I've been on, just trying to help. I didn't know dads needed that type of help. Right. Started reaching out to people and found out that was a big thing among fathers out here that don't know how to be fathers themselves. They're struggling with it, don't know who to talk to and things of that nature. So that's how Because I'm a Dad got started, and I'm very, very excited about it. Getting men to talk about those type of things. So excited.
That's awesome.
Love it.
That's very much needed, man. There's a lot of men out here, as we talked about the other day. It's a very well needed program, man. So we appreciate that. And then my homeboy, Mr. Cal Jenkins, phenomenal guy as well, man. Father, he's a girl dad, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your business, Mr. Cal.
So I'm in a window tinting space, automotive, commercial, residential window tinting. I've been doing this 24 and a half years. If you would have told me 25 years ago that I was going to be tinting windows for a living, I would have thought you were crazy. Right. But it's been an absolute blessing. Helped build one of the larger companies actually now in the country, but at the time it was local. Had to branch off on my own because I was just missing everything with my kids. And, you know, being a girl dad, it was like there was nothing more important to me than being around, not just being a provider, but being
Right.
that guy that they see and they can lean on and trust and talk to, and try and give them a footprint for what they should be looking for out in the world. So my girls straightened me out, because I wasn't always on the straight and narrow, but my girls, man, they they woke me up pretty quickly.
Hey, them girls got a way of doing that.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blessing, man. They play volleyball. I haven't gotten to the coaching world yet, but I'm knocking on that door as far as in the volleyball world. But I'm the tech dad. I record everything. I'm at all the practices. I'm just there for whatever they need. So it's pretty dope.
There you go.
So, and last but certainly not least, my homie, my shotgun rider, Mr. T Bizzle, man. Tell us what about the biz what T Bizzle was all about, man.
Hey man, the biz with T Bizzle is just all about the business, man. That's it, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna talk sports, we're gonna talk entertainment, pop culture, whatever it is going on, man. We're gonna get to it, man. It's not gonna be a messy platform. We're just gonna have a lot of fun, man.
That's what's
But
up, man.
started this thing this year, man, and I'm going with it. I appreciate you, bro.
Man. Oh, doubt, man. You know how that go, bro. We always gonna ride. So, Dr. Kendall Jasper, man, let's jump right into it, man. Tell us a little bit about what you do, man, about with the mental health space. Tell us about that.
First thing I want to say is Cedric the Entertainer stole another comedian's joke. I'm just if you do it, I can do it, bro. So, man, I always wanted to help people. It led me to either wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer, a promise that I made to my mother years ago. And quite honestly, I stumbled into psychology. I was just worried about being an athlete and a socialite in college. And, after my sophomore year of college, I didn't choose a major. I was undecided. And the manager or the administrator from the basketball program called me on the day that we had to declare majors and told me that I had to declare a major. I was going to be ineligible. And quite honestly, man, I was in my room playing Mortal Kombat. Brutally honest.
Sounds good.
On me and my homies on the Super Nintendo. And honestly, I asked her, I said, well, what do you think? She said, well, you've already taken like 2 or 3 psychology classes. What about psychology? I was like, psychology it is. And I hung up the phone. And the rest is history. You know what I mean? I graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology, received my master's and PhD from UNC Greensboro in clinical psychology, received a license to be able to practice, see patients, do psychological evaluations, supervise other mental health professionals. And 20 years later, I am the owner, clinical director of a comprehensive mental health agency that employs about 40 people. And also I still have my private practice, but I do a lot of this type of media work, whether it's podcasts or syndicated radio around health and wellness, specifically for African Americans.
Man, speaking on that, man, how from your perspective, how important is mental health awareness in the African American community, man? So
I think that it's the cornerstone of any community, quite honestly. I think that we continue to underestimate the importance of healthy lifestyle, healthy living that starts with your mind. Mm-hmm. I think that we have a way of jumping automatically to exercise and your vital signs and how important your blood pressure is and your pulse and your heart rate. But we don't stress as much the importance of what are you doing every day to practice, positive mental health techniques, or how you're managing yourself mentally. And I think that in the same way that we should exercise physically, we should exercise mentally in various forms. Because one really doesn't go without the other. You know, you can be in great physical condition and feel lousy as a person. And vice versa, you can be in great mental condition and physically not doing well, but find yourself feeling like you're healthy in a very way. That's how powerful your mind is. So it can't be overstated and shouldn't be estimated. You know, meditation, you know, techniques to strengthen sort of your process, the way you manage your perceptions of reality and your opinions and thoughts and how they impact you emotionally, and your thoughts about that emotion should be at the top of the list.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree with that, man. I was, you know, we've all gone through some things, man, but I found that meditation, man, was a key for me. You know, that helped me with a lot of awareness, get to know who I was as a person, learn to, you know, deal with what I wanted to accept and what I wasn't willing to deal with, man. And it's really changed my mind. I went down to the beach and trained the football team, and every day I made an intentional to go to the beach and meditate, man. It's something about the water that's very calming. Man, I left there a whole nother person, man. So let me ask you other guys, man, what's some of the things you do, guys, to kind of ensure your mental health's intact? Let's start with you, Kyle.
So I was actually, while you were talking, it's funny. I speak about this a lot with friends, that what you said is so important, especially in the Black community, because I think Philando and I talked about just the trauma that a lot of us have experienced in various different ways. Now, it's not all bad. I mean, like terrible, but it is a form of PTSD, I think. And then for the mental side of it, for me, I realized that it hasn't been talked about as a cool thing, so to speak. It's as far as men, we don't lean on each other in that facet because it's not looked at as being manly. And then we become adults and we don't know how to deal with the mental side of it. So what we do is we do external things, where it's the gym or what have you, to try and get rid of this stress. But like you said, what you've done, Dr. Jasper, is ultra important, because you're creating a platform for us to be able to get this stuff out. Like I've been dealing with a psychotic stepdad, not knowing my real dad till I was 26, still dealing with issues because of that situation with my mom, which I still struggle with because she's still here. There's a lot of people that don't have their mother anymore, but I don't have a good relationship with my mom based on that situation. And I fight with that every day, and I'm almost 50 years old. So to have that type of platform to give gentlemen like myself, who, you know, I'm trying to teach the next generation that I brought into this world how to have a strong mental side. I've got to figure that out myself. So it's a lot. I've gotten into a little bit of meditation lately, but more importantly, with my wife has actually helped me open up and actually talk about these things, because it was never I never felt safe to talk about this stuff, especially amongst my peers, because, you know, we like to joke on each other and things of that nature, and it could be a serious situation, and we don't want to talk about it because we don't want to be made fun of. So I think as we get older and we create those safe spaces like this podcast, like this is a safe space to at least try and get this out and bounce things off of other gentlemen and feel okay with it. I think these types of opportunities are really going to help people, you know.
I think Philando's probably.
Yeah, it's good. Just keep it going.
The other part of this is, as I've gotten older, and you know, my research when I was going through the process, I really focused on, you know, what were appropriate treatments for African Americans, in particular African American adolescent young men, right? Mm-hmm. Seem to be diagnosed with things like conduct-related disorders, ADHD, 3 or 4 times more than any other ethnic group, right? I think the other important piece to this is there's a subtle subconscious lean on us as Black folks in these United States of America, that lends itself to trauma that we don't necessarily recognize. Our collective experience is based on a consistent reminder of our place and standing in this country, which impacts esteem, confidence, um, access to resources, all of those different things that it would seem to me that if you recognize that, then again, you have to treat your mental health as paramount. Because even if you're, you know, walking this life and quote unquote living a regular lifestyle, at some point, the media, the television, the sports, something is going to remind you of who you are as a black person in this country.
Mhm.
And that absolutely plays on your health and your mental health and your wellness in that space. If you can think about the imagery and the negative imagery that you probably didn't even recognize until you were older, that's helped to shape you as a person, you now are engaging in some form of corrective action to say, wow, I didn't even recognize how racist or subliminally negative that was towards who I am in this country. You know, and I think that sort of this ongoing anxiety and ongoing anger that we may have exists from an early age in a space that even sometimes we aren't aware of.
Well, I'll tell you, I have this. I don't know where it comes from, but if I go to especially deep-rooted southern states or areas, my daughter had which is funny because this city is actually run by African Americans, but Savannah, beautiful, beautiful city, but
Right.
because of the history, I had anxiety almost the entire time I was there, walking around where the ferry is, where the monument is, where the slaves were sold. Some of the trees, the way the trees are, the homes that still look like plantation homes. I have a huge issue with that. Like it's not. I understand what the history it is for what the history is, but for some reason it's very triggering to me. And it's like what you were saying, it's a constant reminder of what we were once looked as and how we still are at times, and it's very difficult for me to deal with.
Mm,
Wow.
I
You know,
apologize, guys. I feel like I'm frozen.
that alone is enough to process in some form of a group or in a therapy session. Those types of concerns and issues are alone to be able to talk to somebody objectively and say, hey, I need to be able to get this out and express this. So I don't walk around anxious, angry,
Mm,
feeling like I have to be someone different or two times as good to be able to get the same opportunities.
mm,
You know what I mean? Things that we've learned all of our lives. You know, that alone is enough to say I should be able to talk to somebody who professionally can handle what I'm putting in front of them to help me navigate and manage it. And then you go on top of that to achieve being a son, a father, a husband, you know, all of the other things, you know, a good employee or a good entrepreneur, all of the other things that can create a level of stress in your life.
Yeah, it's a lot of hats for sure that we got to wear.
Yeah.
No doubt. Hey, Pablo, jump in there a little bit, man, and give us a little bit about how you
Well,
got started and what you got going on, sir.
well, I know growing up without my father, growing up in the inner city as we call it, the hood and all that stuff, you learn some things real quickly. Uh, but it, once I became an adult and I had my first son, was when it really started hitting that all of the childhood, I guess you call it childhood trauma that I had
mm,
been through and made it out of, it was nerve wracking, and it for me when I found and started when I put God first, Not
Mm.
trying to be spiritual on y'all, but that's how I got my life kind of went the other way quick. And I learned prayer, and I learned to get my own time, to find my own peace, so that I could be prepared to be the head of a household. You know, got to take care of that wife. You got to take care of those kids. And so it was more so it wasn't just about me. And so it's almost like I had to kind of grow up fast.
Mm.
Because once I realized, okay, I'm supposed to take care of this woman and these children. I'm supposed to lead and guide them, but I ain't even ready myself. And so, my time spent with God, reading, studying, and praying and learning how to lead has really, really changed my life. Because I used to be an angry guy,
Mm.
uh, violent guy, But once my boy came, something changed, and so it made it easier for me. And I know a lot of people think I'm laid back, which I am now, because
Violent guy.
I'm prepared. I'm
You know,
looking.
but once
I
I
got a
am
couple people
now.
in front of me I'm looking at, and so that's what I worry about most of the time. But my best friend uh took his life
Mm.
some years ago, and that floored me.
Hmm.
We was best buddies, talked every day, did everything together, and then all of a sudden, just like that,
Mm.
and that's when I started wondering, why was someone that's doing so well, has a wife, kids, doing so well. This is me looking on the outside.
Mm.
Just all of a sudden do that. I didn't see any signs, didn't see nothing. And that's when I started wondering about people's mental capability. That's why I started hearing about mental health and things, because I didn't really know what that was. And so that floored me. And from that point on, I've been really about why people get in that type of mental state, and how I can help someone get past that or get out of that.
No doubt, no doubt. And Dr. Jasper, what are some of the things that you think could have been going on with his friend? Like he said, his friend had everything, man. He had a family, he had a good job, man. Seemed like life is great. Like, what are some of the things that guys go through that can make them take their life like that when everything's going with them?
I don't know that specific situation, but I can tell you that, again, we those things don't matter if mentally you're not in a healthy and safe space, right? We, as an example, right? People who more often than not experience like clinical depression, um, they have a tendency to engage in what's called negativistic thinking, negative thinking, right? It's very common, regardless of what's going on. It's always thinking the worst,
Mm.
right? And usually, when people are experiencing that level of negative thinking and that level of depression, they also are very stressed, right? Which means that they'll have higher than normal what are called cortisol levels, which is, you know, sort of a sign of stress. And it's also a high level of anxiety, which again can lead to not just mental health issues, but also physical health
That's
issues.
cool. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, higher blood pressure levels, um, impacts your sleeping and eating habits, your ability to stay at a resting and calm, you know, space, so to speak. So, some people will believe that they're at the end. It can't get any worse. I've let people down. People, life would be easier if I'm not here. Maybe I'm a
Mm.
burden on other people. I see myself as a burden. I see myself who doesn't seem to be able to get it right. And I'm impacting my my spouse, my family, my friends, my work. You know, and if you start to tell yourself those things long enough,
Mm-hmm.
You'll hold tight to them and believe them, regardless of what the evidence around you shows, because the evidence may not support any of your claims. Doesn't matter. You know, it's what I believe and what I feel, and I feel strongly about this. So whatever you put in front of me isn't going to change how I feel or what I think about what is going on or the impact it's having. You know, and contrary to popular belief, people think that people are cowards for taking their life, right? More often than not, you hear someone say, this person's a coward. Reality is, do you know, and I'm certainly not glorifying it, but you know how courageous you have to be to do something like that? Like, that's not a cowardice act. Like, if you know your life is getting ready to end and you do it anyway, that's, you know, there wasn't no, there's not too much of a coward. You know, maybe you don't think there's a path or a solution to your issues, but for you to sit there and boldly engage in an act that you know will potentially end it all for you, you know, that takes some commitment, you know, unfortunately, you know. And again, I'm not sensationalizing or glorifying it, because I'm a person who thinks that nothing is insurmountable. You can manage it. You quickly take perspective on it. But, you know, there are a lot of people in pain. There are a lot of people in silent pain. And for whatever reason, they either haven't found someone to speak up to who's willing to listen, or they choose not to speak up.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Jasper. I've heard a lot of people say that's probably one of the most selfish acts that you can commit, like because you're out of here, but you got your family and your friends are left to deal with the aftermath. So what do you think about that approach?
Well, I think that, you know, death by suicide, you look at it and say, I wouldn't necessarily label it selfish in that way. I would label it as someone who is sick and going through something, who didn't think that there was another option to experience a level of relief or success, or be able to overcome whatever obstacle was that was in their way. So I don't necessarily think that it's selfish. I think that you're dealing with a person who feels potentially like whatever they do or whatever they think they're able to do isn't going to be good enough to solve the issues. You know, financial issues, marital issues, whether it's issues with relationships with their siblings, children, parents, whatever the case may be. They've gotten to a point where they don't believe that they can execute a plan to help alleviate the issue, the concern. And sometimes when someone says, I just feel like people would be better off without me, that's them in a negative way saying, I don't have any value. I'm not adding any value to this circumstance. You know, and although we're dealing with tough issues, the tough times don't last. How committed will you be to be a tough person to get through those tough times? But it's also important that people check in with each other. You know, most guys on the phone know, like, every now and again, I will ask you how you're doing. Like, what's up, bro? Like, I randomly, what's up, bro? You was on my mind. How you doing? I'm just calling to check up on you. There's a reason for that.
Right.
You know, because we've got to be able to check in with each other, because you never know. That one question could lead to, you know, yo, Kenny, man, I'm glad you called me, bro. Like, man, I got to tell you, fam, it's been kind of heavy for me lately, man, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
You know, and I just need a perspective. I need to figure out a solution. Like, I need to find somebody to talk to. Boom. Okay. I got you. Like, what's up? Holler at me. And if I can't help you, I'm going to turn you on to somebody who can.
Right.
There you go, man. And that's lost, man, with our culture, man. We we tend to think that we can be able to reach out to anybody. And I mean, it's just plain and simple, man. You just can't tell anybody anything. So that's where most brothers get like get shelled off. They feel like they can't talk to anybody, and it builds up. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be able to communicate with somebody. Like for an example, I had a partner of mine who was watching the Carolina Duke game Saturday, and he called me Friday night. He sounded kind of down, man. You know, he was going through some things, man, personally, and you know, and he was like, "Bro, man, what's going on?" I was like, "Listen, man, you sound like you need to be around some love, man. Me and the fellas getting together Saturday night, watching the game come through, bro. You know what I'm saying?" And he came, and I can tell he wasn't into it, but he had a smile on his face a few times, man. And that's what it's all about, man. And before the brother left, man, I love you, bro, man. I needed that. We got to be able to break that shell and be able to come out and, you know, talk about these things, man, to our brothers, man. You can't call me your brother if I can't do that for you, man.
Absolutely,
Something simple
man.
as that, just getting together, watching the game, you know, it kind of changed the man perspective a little bit.
Right.
So
that's one of the things, man, I'm most proud of, man. Like I have a great group of friends, man, that you know, provide a safe space for me to, you know, to fall. And I know I'm gonna be caught, but like Pab and I were talking about yesterday, but rest assured that situation gonna come back up in a comical way, you know, 6 months down the road. But when you're going through something, man, like when we're out here playing, man, but I know I intentionally surround myself with people I feel safe around, that I can be vulnerable, man. And that's been huge for me, because I was always kind of a closed off person. And, you know, and actually through meditation, man, it kind of helped me open up and like, man, listen, bro, there are people right there, you know, you just got to find the right group of people, man. So
Yeah.
I think that bond and that friendship group is super important, man. You know, because there's two type of people that listen to you. There's some people that listen to you out of concern, and there's some people that listen to you for gossip. You know, so you just got to have the discernment to know who is who, right?
Yeah.
Well, the flip side to that too is you got to surround yourself with people that you trust to tell you the truth, and you're willing to accept it. Because I think that's the flip side to that too, is people might need help or want help, but they'd rather surround themselves with an echo chamber of people telling them what they want to hear versus what they need to hear. And then they're not mature enough to accept what they need to hear. So they just want to get angry or whatever the case may be, or cut that person off when that person's really just trying to help you. But so that, I think that's a huge part of just getting that. And that took me a long time to get to. It wasn't that I was just very closed off. Like I just, on the surface, you know, I'm the cool guy, I'm the fun guy, I do anything for you, but I was never going to show my cards. I was never going to show my hand, because I was just I was in survival mode my whole life. So,
Right.
and I think a lot of us we're just survivors. We're going to figure out a way. You know, I was never on the brink of taking my own life or anything like that. I mean, shoot, if I had to give myself a shot, I couldn't even do that. So there's no way
Right.
I could be, you know, that guy to take my own life. But I got to a point where I realized that I couldn't continue to just hold on to these things. And I had to find at least one person that I could talk to who would tell me the truth. And then from there, I could start to unpack certain things. I still think I need to see a professional to really, really deep dive some stuff. But at least I'm taking the right steps as far as letting somebody tell me the truth, and me being willing to at least accept that and work on myself from that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
And Cal, being a father, how many girls do you have, Cal?
I got two, one soon to be 14, and an 18-year-old freshman in college.
Oh man, so kind of go into the importance of being a strong, you know, a dad, being a strong Black father in those girls' life, man, with all this, you know, this craziness going on right now.
Well, and my situation is, you know, I got biracial kids. So my wife is, you know, she's blonde hair, blue eye, but she's actually registered Sioux Indian. And then so it's a collective. I mean, my daughters, they don't know if they're Black, they don't know if they're white, they don't know if they're Samoan, they don't know. They're just beautiful girls. but just being a black father of black girls, it's challenging at times. You know, we've tried to keep them in a safe surrounding as far as where we've chosen to live, the schools they go to, but unfortunately, that is predominantly white. Well, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but they're not getting the other side of the coin. They're not
Mm,
seeing the culture, the black culture, and things of that nature. Then they got hated on a lot. You know, as far as the way my girls look, you know,
Yep.
they're too dark to be cool with the white girls, and then they're too light to
mm,
be,
Mm.
cool with the black girls. So they find themselves in this weird conundrum where they're like my youngest right now has got she's got a peer group that was her friends until recently they started exiling her out of stuff. They just stopped inviting her, things of that nature. And the ringleader happens to be another mixed girl who's starting all of this. So
mm,
it's that us attacking ourselves. So we're trying to help them navigate that stuff. But like I said, the reason I started my company is being a black man, you know, the stereotype of black men not being around and things of that
mm,
nature.
mm,
I think I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I was involved. I was a volunteer at the school for 10 years. The elementary school that my daughters went to, it was called Hawk Dads. I was part of that for 10 years. Did carpool, we did everything. We called ourselves the cool version of the PTA. You know, so it was a group of dads. But in that, I was one of two black guys out of that whole group. So I seemed to always be the only one or one of a few. So what I did was I made it my mission. If I'm going to be the only one, I'm going to change somebody's mind about the way they look at us or the way they perceive us
mm,
to be. Because in a lot of these situations, like I said, where we've chosen to live, just opportunities, things of that nature, that echo chamber that I was talking about, there's a lot of people that only surround themselves with people who look like themselves. So they don't
mm,
know our perspective. They just assume. So I look at it instead of being a bad situation, I take the opportunity to really try and change somebody's perspective as how they look at us as a whole. So when my girls like that's helped me always step out the house with putting my best foot forward, so to speak, and that's in turn show my girls how to carry themselves when they're in public. So it's tricky, but and there's been a lot of times where I wanted to get upset because of a but then I had to really realize that some of these people just don't know any better, and that's my opportunity to kind of change their mind. So
Good.
No doubt. No doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. Is well, do we got Lando? Do we got Lando here? Or is he frozen?
Look like he froze.
yeah, he looked,
All right.
yeah, he
Well,
locked up for a second.
Look, I
let's
thought he was just locked in. His face looked like he
yeah,
was locked in, bro. I ain't know he was
Yeah, I thought he was super focused on what I was saying.
I thought he was just locked in, bro.
hey
Yeah.
Pablo, let's get into a little bit of the of what you got going on with the fathers organization, man, with the dad thing you got going on, man. Let's get into that a little bit.
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of more so. I get a lot of anonymous calls
Mm.
with men. Not really. They kind of like ask, okay, now what's this all about? But they're really reaching out for help.
No
Um,
doubt.
and so I find myself, I would call it mentoring other men on just practice the part of, because like I said before, I didn't know it was a struggle. I didn't know I was struggling being a father, because when you don't have your father grow up, my father is supposedly still alive. I hadn't seen him since I was like 7. I'm 50. He's
Mm.
supposedly still alive. That's what my mother
Mm.
says, you know. But and so growing up I didn't have him. And so but when I became a father myself, like I said, just like you just saying, I was on it. Both of them at everything they do, just letting them know that I'm always be there. Everything that they do, I'm always there for. Things like that. I lost a lot of job opportunities because I didn't want to be away from my kids. And so and so how this thing got started was I didn't know if I was even doing right of being a father, and I thought I was struggling. And my wife was like, you're doing fine." I was like, I missed this game, like one game out of 100, but I felt horrible missing one game. You know what I mean? And so she kind of had to dial me back a little bit, and that's when I started noticing that I was kind of really, I don't know if I was overdoing it with them. And so the group got started. I started looking up, people who out there struggling who don't have fathers, and they have kids themselves now, and they're trying to figure out how to get through this life. And so I got a lot of guys right now that we talk a few times a week, and a lot of it's mostly because I'm not a licensed like Dr. Kendall right there, but it's more of a we motivate each other, push each other, help each other down the road, and that's pretty much all I want to do, and I want to push it to the masses. It's still kind of beginning stages of doing it like publicly, big, because I'm not really a public type guy. My wife is really public. She the one pulled me out to do it, and so I'm learning how to share what I got with the world right now, and it's going pretty well. So you know what I mean. If you know anybody that's into that, man, that's kind of struggling with being a father, because a lot of us don't know. We think right, we don't really understand. Like he was saying, you just kind of just going off what you think and we just helping each other down the road.
No doubt, man. I was one of those fathers, man. I was a 17-year-old father, man. I had no clue what I was gonna do. And I've never met my father before. So I kind of, took after, my uncles, learned from some uncles, cousins and, close friends of the family. So, it was kind of like on the fly, man. So I would love to, tap in with you, man, on that. Um and talk to some of those guys, man, and get involved in the conversation. Maybe I can, say some things to a younger guy, or older guy or whatever, man. I would love to get involved, man. Dr. Jasper, man, what are some of the things, man? You maybe you talk to a few guys that's maybe a young father or a father that don't know the right path, or a guy that's just not involved. Have you talked to any guys in this specific conversation, as far as mental health and raising their kids?
Absolutely. I think that number one, what I want to say is to both of you, to you, Biz, and to you, Pap, you know, think about how you've changed your family's trajectory forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the cycle stopping with both of you, with not growing up with your fathers, but making choices to say, I'm going to be committed to my children, and how that then will impact your children when they become parents, in particular your boys, when they become parents. It's rare that young men who grow up with a strong father figure or presence in their life go on to be poor dads themselves, or fathers who aren't involved. It's a rarity, because they almost feel a sense of guilt associated with the fact that I'm not giving my kids the same opportunities and presence in their life that my dad gave to me. Right? Psychologically, it impacts me different. And you also have to think about the role that a father plays. Like, there's a certain confidence and safety that comes with knowing my dad is standing behind me. Tell me, like, yo, homie, I'm good. My father right there, bro.
Right.
My daddy right here, homie. Like, what you know what I mean? He's teaching me how to be a man, but if I turn around, he always got my back. He right here. I don't care how far out I go in the field. All I gotta do is yell, and he like, yo, I'm right here. Where you at?
There you go.
Right? There's a total different mechanism and process that goes on when you have strong men in your life, in particular your father. Right? But what I would tell them is what I would tell anybody. right? You always have the power of choice in front of you, even as a father, and what you decide to do.
Right.
And you also have to understand that you are a human and there's a human element to it. And that you're not always going to make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You're not always going to react and respond in the right and proper ways. But what you're going to do is be consistent. You're going to show up every day. Right? You're going to commit yourself to supporting your children to the best of your ability. Right? And you're going to be responsible. You're going to be responsible to them, responsible to yourself, and hold yourself accountable to being that committed, consistent figure in their life. And as they get older, become more and more honest with them to the point where you let them know, hey, listen, I'm human. Dad has made a tremendous amount of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I have made those mistakes, but I'm continuing to try and be here. I'll ask for your love and forgiveness because I'm willing to give it to you as we this journey together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that stuff, that's not about money or material things. That's about love and the connection of a father to a son or a father to a daughter.
No doubt.
You know, as y'all know, I started my daughter 25 years old. I'm girl and guy dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she kind of got me wrapped around her finger. You feel me?
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
Them girls, boy.
I'll tell you, it's to piggyback on what both you said. One, not having a father, but then two, having a father that you know you can model yourself after. So my stepdad, like I said, that dude was manipulative, mentally abusive. Like it was not a good situation for me. My brother went into the Marines early. My brother and I are 7 years apart. So he went to Marines at 17, and he still to this day struggles with the fact that he feels like he left me with him with no protection, right? So that's why I was saying with me and my mom, the situation. But what I did was I made a conscious effort to, since that's what I saw, I'm gonna do the polar opposite. So when it came to my kids, when I made decisions, I was like, okay, this is what I knew happened to me, and this is what it felt like. So I wouldn't do that to my kids, and so I raised them based on. So I'm very thankful, which is wild that I got to this point. I'm very thankful for that dude, even though he really kind of messed me up a little bit because he showed me exactly what I never wanted to be.
Right,
so I made a conscious effort to not repeat that behavior and to set a new path.
Well, see,
So
I have a brother who's like a year older than me, and we went two different directions. Like I chose, just like you just said, I chose to say I'm gonna always be there for my kids through thick and thin, and my brother chose like the streets and kind of the other way. So he's kind of going through now what we went through. Is like you know, but they love him and things of that nature. But he's struggling now because he's almost taking that same path that my dad took, and I'm, you know, and it's amazing that we both were in the same house. We saw the same things, and we just, you know, decided. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm going this way. And so you find men like that who just decided to run the streets and got baby here, baby over there, baby over here. And so now he's kind of going through with his grown kids are looking at him like, nah, I'm good. And so now you got to fight through trying to get back into their lives. And I think it's dangerous, very dangerous.
We all have to answer the question: how do we view ourselves? Right? In your private moments, what do you think of yourself as a person? How do you see yourself? Are you honest with yourself about who you are, where you need to improve? You may not know how to improve or how to make things better, but what are those private, honest moments and conversations that you're having with yourself about who you are, what you are, and the direction that you want to go in? right? And I think that from there, it can help you determine what happens next. And I think that a lot of times we may not even recognize that we need help, or may not recognize that we could use some level of assistance or modeling or ask that question. And I think that when we're not honest with ourselves, we end up in some very precarious situations. Or when we're honest with ourselves but choose to ignore it, which is just
that
that.
mirror don't lie.
Oh man, that's just as tricky when you say, "Hey, listen, I know myself to be this type of person." Myself to say, "Well, I can ignore it. I can handle this anyway." Let me put myself in this situation when I'm sure myself time and time again I haven't fared very well. But I think this time it's going to be different. So
is that a pride thing?
Some of it is. I think some of it is pride. I think more of it is fear. Right? I think that some of it is fear. Some of it is about when can we afford to be vulnerable and vulnerable too. Right? Like can we afford to be vulnerable to our friends? Can we afford to be vulnerable to our wives? Can we afford to be vulnerable to, you have to read the landscape and say, I don't know if I can afford to be vulnerable to anybody because I don't know how it's going to be potentially used.
Right.
Will it be used as a weapon? Will it be weaponized? Shaq said something the other day about this tells you a little bit about him. Shaq said, you shouldn't be vulnerable to open yourself up to a woman. She'll use it against you.
I saw that.
I did.
This is Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, I saw that.
We think Shaquille got it figured out. He on every commercial. He making hundreds of millions of dollars. And Shaquille says, listen, don't open up to women. Not good for you. And his experience has been used against him. That's Shaq's experience. How do you then live your life? How do you then have an honest experience if you're not willing to show your vulnerability? The reality is that maybe you just haven't found someone who won't trample on those vulnerabilities.
There you go.
Who's willing to say, I know this about you, you share this, and then I'm here to elevate you and build you up. Not bringing up moments of frustration to weaken you or put chinks in your armor. It's a little bit different.
Let me ask you guys this. I know Tony, Pab, Kendall. It's ironic that, given our situations where we grew up in, I grew up without my biological father. I've probably seen him 5 times in my entire life. But one of the things I know, I found an outlet to, I made a conscious decision. That's who I wasn't going to be. My children would never know that life. But that also was one of the things that led me into coaching, right? Because I know there's a lot of kids out there that don't have that positive male influence. How big of a role did that play in you guys becoming coaches?
Huge. That was huge. I got into coaching because my sons wanted me to coach, of course. But when you get out there and you got, if we talking football for a moment, you got 30-something kids going out for that team. 90% of them, you're not gonna see the father.
Particularly youth football.
Youth football. You're not gonna really see the father, and you're gonna see most of the mothers and kids out there who just looking for something. And I found that out real quick when I started coaching. It wasn't just about my kids after that.
Right.
It wasn't just about my kids. It was about all of these kids out here and me trying to all of these kids, treating them. And I treated my son the same way I treated the rest of them. And I have relationships to this day, with some of those kids that I coached that been here. So that's from the jump. Those kids coming out there without that father figure, it's huge, man. Yeah. Very huge for me.
Yeah, that was
Same
one of the
here.
reasons I chose to coach. One of the places I coached at when I coached at Beatties Ford, because I knew it was important. I mean, I lived in an area my son could have played Valentine, whatever, but
Mm.
to me it was important for him to see that other side, and it was also important for the children I was coaching to see, hey, there are dads, black dads that involve their kids, that own businesses, and that are married, that own homes and things of that nature. So, man, that was one of the biggest hooks for me, man. Like I said, my son could have played anywhere, but I felt like it was more important for him to be in that environment to see, hey, man, you got a different life out here, bro. Like, this could be you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. Same with me, man. Just getting out there, man, and seeing so many kids without a father, or shit, some kids without a mother and a father. We
Facts.
got to go pick them up. We go pick up 3, 4 kids, man. Cause mama ain't coming out there. So I remember my uncle
You're the
Zeke getting
babysitter.
me into coaching. Yeah, man, and me and Shanique would go pick up 3, 4 kids, man, and we'll have a cooler full of sandwich meats and drinks and potato chips, man, and we line the kids up, man. We used to feed them, but and that it was very real though. I had never seen
Right.
nothing like that until I got into coaching. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
like, man, this is very real, man. Like, and I'm like, what, 20, 21 years old? And I'm like,
Mm.
yo, look how many kids out here, man, that don't have an option. Some kids, that was their only meal.
Only bill.
That sandwich, man,
Mm,
the potato chips and that drink, man. You know? So, man, it's sad, man.
yeah,
It's
man.
sad.
It don't stop there, man. I coach high school football and I see it, man. And
Yeah.
man, one of the things that I think about, Dr. Jasper, is like a lot of people don't realize that these kids, I think people associate when they say PTSD, they think that's from war, right? I
Mhm.
feel like, man, there's a lot of kids walking around, coming from, particular neighborhoods that's walking around with PTSD and, some of the things they see and experience in their neighborhood. And then they're expected to go to school and be model students. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it lends itself to some of the inattention that we see from, in particular, kids that come from inner city areas, right? I think that it's kind of hard to be attentive and locked in the classroom when I've witnessed and seen so many different things starting in my own home, and then walk from my house to the bus, or from my house to the school, or wherever I'm headed, right? I think that you know there's a fair amount of black folks that live below the poverty line,
Right.
and poverty lends itself to living in areas and resources where crime is high. The presence of you know responsible adult figures is low, and negative influences can start to raise your child, right? Or
Mm,
individuals who serve as negative influences can raise your child. So I think that there is a significant amount of trauma that we experience. If nothing else, you know, living in impoverished environments where the resources are not even close to anywhere normal can lend itself to trauma,
right.
Right.
right? Like
Mm,
growing up without lights, growing up without meals, on a consistent basis, growing up to have to fend for yourself when you're not even old enough and fully developed to make certain decisions, and you're having to stay home at 8 or 9 years old by yourself.
mm,
Mom's got to work 2 or 3 jobs just to keep the lights on or to
right.
bring home a meal, or you may be 8 or 9 taking care of a 3 or 4 year old younger brother or sister, So I think that, and you're not always making the best decision, but expected to be more responsible than you are. So some of your childhood is taken from you in that.
Mm,
So You know, there's a significant amount of relative trauma that we don't pay attention to, that we aren't sensitive enough to, because we just treat it as you've got to just toughen up and for no. At some point, we have to stop saying that that's the response, because then we have a 35-year-old man who can't seem to manage himself appropriately. It goes back to those moments when we weren't sensitive enough to say, hey, this is not normal. And we've got to intervene and help early enough before it continues to plague you.
Mm.
You know, but we kind of just, listen, man, sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes we can't even afford to worry in that way. You understand what I'm saying? It's like,
right.
I can't afford to be worried about that, man. I ain't got time for that. I got to go out here and hustle and feed this family, bro.
Facts.
I'm trying to be worried about my feelings and my emotions. No, man, I can't do that.
Right.
But it's plaguing you. It's killing you inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to, you know, create this sort of daunting process for us, but it's real.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's real and it's honest. And it ain't always sunshine and you know, in blue skies, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And to piggyback off of that, I wanted to ask Cal, since Cal had said that he went through some things as a youngster. What were some of them times that you went through, Cal, that shaped you into the man that you are today? I heard you say that you had a successful tenant business. You helped build one of the most, you know, a successful business. What are some of those moments from back in the day that shaped your childhood, that, you know, that shaped you into the man you are today?
Well,
And how did you overcome those, you know, those issues that you was having to be the man that you are today?
man, that's a very hard question, because I know the things that I went through, like I said, that I knew that I wasn't going to put anybody else through. How I got to that point, I don't know. I don't know what in me clicked to say I'm not going to go that way. I know sports was a big deal. You know, I played football, I ran track, I played basketball. I knew the importance of camaraderie. I knew the importance of being there for a teammate. You know, I knew the importance of working hard, trying to earn my spot. I think that helped. I knew the importance of sports was the one thing that kept me kind of in line, because if I didn't do good off the field, I wasn't going to be able to play sports.
Right.
And because so, well, I'm glad you asked that question, because I think, here we go. Because of sports, I had to do good off the field to stay on the field. Because of everything that was going on in my house, my sanctuary was sports. So the more I was able to be in a sports environment, the less I had to be home. So I poured everything into sports. So there was times, just to give you a cliff notes, if I got a bad grade, you know, most kids, you know, they might be in trouble till the next test, or they might be in trouble, you know, whatever, normal week or so, whatever the case may be. Now it's lose your phone for a minute. Then it might have been you can't use the phone, or you might not be able to go out this weekend. If I got a bad grade, I was on restriction for 6 months at a time. So, and that wasn't
That's
just,
severe.
Wow.
it was no phone, no TV. Don't ask. If I asked to go out, or if I asked to do something that tacked time
More time.
on, it was like traumatic like that. So it was like when I was in a sports environment, that was the only time I was free. I felt like I was locked up all the time. So when I was younger, I get off the bus. When I was in elementary school, I used to live in Providence Square. I get off the bus. I didn't have a key to the house, but I wasn't allowed to go in anybody else's house. So I would have to sit outside and wait on somebody to get home. There was times that I sat outside. I get off the bus, you know, elementary school, 3:00? And there was times that I would sit outside until the sun was down, until somebody got home to let me in the house. and I wasn't allowed to go in the neighbor's house. There was times where it was raining outside, and I'm on my back patio underneath the shed just to stay dry because I was too afraid to go in somebody's house because I knew what would happen if I went in somebody's house. So the that's why there's these, when you said like Pablo was talking about, him and his brother went two different directions. I'm very fortunate that I didn't choose a different path because I don't know how ugly it could have gotten. But I'm very thankful for the coaches I had and the sports that I was able to play, because at least that gave me an opportunity to be free, and understanding that feeling let me have in real time, this feels good and this doesn't. So let me not do this or model that at all and focus on this more. So I'm sure there's many more layers to that I tell my wife all the time that I probably need to see somebody and really talk to get it all out and figure it all out. But I live my life now. I tell a lot of people, find things that bring you joy. That doesn't necessarily you don't need anybody else for. You find something that brings you joy that you can do by yourself. Try to do that as early in the day, every day as you can, and set your day up for success, because you've invited that positive energy into your life early on in the day. And then my other thing is I just try to do the right things with the right intentions. So if all of us have those crossroads, every day that we come across, sometimes it's two good decisions, sometimes it's a good and bad, sometimes it's two bad decisions. And you have to figure out the one that's going to work the best for you. And with that, I always lean back to do the right things with the right intentions. So that way I'm not trying to manipulate a situation to better myself. I'm not trying to manipulate somebody else to better myself. And with that, I can sleep at night, so.
That's huge. Wow. Pab, that seemed to touch a nerve with you, man. I see you over there shaking your head, man. You want to chime in on that?
No, I mean, I like what he's saying, and he keeps saying, I probably need to go see somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, he's actually letting it out right here, which is great. He's sharing, awesome. And somebody is probably going through or have went through the same thing that you went through, and it helped them in a major way. Because we did grow up a little different, and so I just like what you're saying, and I like the fact that you keep saying that you're making decisions to go the right way. And some of us, unfortunately, like Dr. Kendall was saying, there's so much going on in our life. It's like we don't have time to make the right decision. It's so much bad around us that we just and we think that's the way it's supposed to be. And we keep making bad decisions after bad decisions because that's all around us. And the fact that you even have now, you're making a choice to say, no, I'm going to do this instead of this. That's amazing. You can see it.
That's all.
You see the right decision. You have a little time to make it, so you're making it. And I love it. I love it.
And I appreciate it. It's
been
a long road.
I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but it's also like different era. Like I salute the brother because this era, what he went through growing up, he'd had a pack and a pistol outside of, what I'm saying, somebody's neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So I salute you, bro, for, what I'm saying, be even tough enough to go through that and persevere and become the man that you are today, bro. I salute you, man. I appreciate you opening up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one other thing I do is I believe that everything that was given to us is a gift. I mean, some of it might not feel good, but it was gifted to us by God, right? This is just the way I feel, not to get ultra religious, but I believe he gifted it to us because we were strong enough to actually make it through whatever that situation is. And the gift isn't actually for us. The gift is us to learn the lesson so we can actually help the person who might not be strong enough to get through that same situation. So this platform can reach a lot of people that we might connect with that we might not even know, because our shared experiences can affect somebody in a positive way because we were strong enough to get through those and they don't know how to. So I think that's I just look at life that way. Like all the negative things or what people would perceive to be as negative, for me, man, the glass, I try to always make sure the glass is half full. In some way, looking for that silver lining. Because if not, it can be a spiral really quick to a dark place. And we've all been in bad situations. And if you take a minute to tap into how you felt in that moment, hopefully it's like putting your hand on a hot stove. You're gonna go the opposite direction. Hopefully, unfortunately, some people don't do that. They keep touching the stove, keep touching the stove, keep touching the stove. I was very fortunate to know, man, that damn stove is hot. I don't want to touch it again. So,
No doubt. No doubt. So, Dr. Kendall, man, being in, and Philando also, he works at, with the high school kids.
Sure.
You guys both work with the high school kids as well. Can you almost point out some of the things you can see straight through some of these young men, right? Can you point out some of the things that that you can talk to these young fellas, that you talk to your young fellas about at the school? I know you get into it with them, or conversation wise. So what's some of the things that you lean on, you to let these little fellas know out here, man? Because like I said, man, Cal could have picked up a pack in a gat. This is the pack in the gat era. And I know you had a kid come in and, coach, man, this basketball thing, man, I need to get some money. What do you say to a kid like that?
I try to, as much as possible, talk to them about being patient with the process, right? And the importance of falling in love with the work, and not just the work to become better as an athlete, but the work to become better as a person and as a student. And also an understanding that every day isn't going to look the same, and some days are going to be better than others, and talk to them a little bit about, some cliche-ish things like peaks and valleys and climbing a mountain. And although you're in a valley, you may be closer to the top of that mountain. You just are going through a low point as you're on the journey to what you're trying to achieve. It's difficult because a lot of it is centered around instant gratification. And a lot of it is centered around sometimes taking the path of least resistance, because we're getting more and more to a space where, we're not giving them that much natural resistance, right? If you look at, unfortunately, the way that school is set up, kids are able to retake tests now in a way that was different when we were growing up. They have a certain amount of time to turn in work before it's actually counted late, and they can't receive full credit for it. Like there are just a lot of things that are set up for their success, but also doesn't really encourage doing the prep work, because this may be your only one opportunity to achieve or get this right. Right. And as we get older, as we all are, as adult men, we all understand that you're not always afforded that many opportunities and chances when you become an adult.
Facts.
We don't exist in a space where, you have 6 and 7 times to get a tint job correct on someone's car. Like, this is your opportunity to get this customer and potentially have them be a repeat customer for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's vital to your business. There is no, man, my bad, I did it wrong, but if you give me 3 weeks, I'll get it straight for you. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? So I think that we also have to show them that there's another path to success, and there are other ways to get it other than what's sensationalized. Through our music, through our other forms of propaganda and content that they visit. There are other ways to do it, and it may not be as sexy as what some of these other ways look like, but trust me, you'll live a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
And you have you have different stresses in your life, than some of the ones that going this way or that way you may face. And the other thing is, hold yourself accountable.
No doubt.
They don't hear enough. You control we talking sports. I always tell kids all the time, for the most part, you control your playing time.
Mm-hmm.
You control it.
All the time.
You work hard, you show up, you're available, you seize the moment. I trust you. You need to play. If you aren't doing those things, then you don't need to play. So don't get mad at me. Look in the mirror. You're last in sprints. You don't show up. You don't know the plays. You don't want to hustle. You don't want to play defense. You don't want to be a team basketball or football player.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't about me. It's about you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotta have that want to.
Hopefully that makes them accountable and helps them to understand I control what happens next
Mm-hmm.
by how hard I decide to work.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
deep.
I made some shirts. I made some shirts that just simply say "Be undeniable," and that's exactly what that means. Because with my kids playing, like I said, volleyball, we had a couple seasons with some really really bad coaches that it wasn't necessarily their play. It was they picked their favorites, and when they picked their favorites, it was very obvious what was going on. But I kept saying we got to make ourselves undeniable. So you work so hard that they can't deny you the opportunity. And what you were saying is exactly it. By instilling that into the youth, letting them know that you can control everything just by simply the amount of effort that you put in. Now, if you don't want to put any effort in, just don't expect a reward. But I think that part comes from the years of the everybody gets a trophy mentality.
Mm,
It's like that's got to go away because that it's destroyed the work ethic of these
absolutely.
kids because everybody's getting something at the end. No, I want to see the winners get the big trophy, second place get the little trophy, third place might get a medal, everybody else gets to go back to work. You
Yes.
feel?
Right.
But
It's
part
like the Olympics.
of that is also born out of the fact that sports and youth sports has become more about opportunities to make money
Yeah.
Mm,
than it is for the opportunities to teach, love, and learn. Right.
mm,
So if I'm going to charge you this much money, I almost feel guilty and feel like you got to get something out of it, right? Because I'm charging you so much, you at least got to get a trophy, right? No, listen, I can tell you with 100% certainty, there are no participation trophies around my house. I got 4 kids, 3 still playing sports. We don't keep participation trophies.
facts.
Like
Say it
that's
again.
what we do, right?
Yeah.
Like there's value in winning and losing. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want to win and want that trophy, then let it be a reminder and motivation to you of how much harder you have to work if you want to experience that feeling.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's not look for this, oh, we're going to get a medal at the end. For what?
Right.
Mm.
You lost.
Lost.
I always tell kids it's like the Olympics, man. First, second, and third, wait 4 years. That's just the way it goes.
Ooh.
That's it. If you went first, second, and third,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
that's what I do appreciate about volleyball. They show up to these tournaments. You play the first day to get into the bracket, whether that's gold, silver, or bronze bracket. If you don't make it into a bracket, then you'll get a consolation game, but you know you're not getting none anyway. But then once you get into those brackets the second day, there's only one team out of each one of those brackets that's getting anything. And there might be 100 teams there. So
Wow.
everybody knows you got to show up, every day. So
Love it.
Wow.
Love
Pablo, how you feel about participation trophies, man?
I'm with you, man. I just think it's when my boys played youth football, especially my oldest one. It was the same thing. He wasn't getting no time, and he was looking at me like I'm supposed to do something. And we was at another organization at the time, and I was like, "Dog, I'm not doing anything." I said, "Your work ethic and what you do in practice is going." I said, "No one knows you over here.
it. All right.
You got to go out there and earn it and make it. You got to earn it." I can't do it for you. I can't keep threatening coaches and stuff like that. Now you got to go out there and do it yourself. Blah, 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 blah. But he ended up doing it himself, and y'all saw him at Mint Hill and stuff like that. Once we got to Mint Hill, he was a dog. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
And so, but he hated getting second.
Mm.
He did it, and I mean, like, and I had to pull him back a lot. And then you got Ethan, my youngest one. He's just so even keeled. Like these kids today that they're like, you don't know, do they want it or don't they? Because they so even keeled. They ain't really up. They ain't really down. They don't really show a whole lot of emotion. These younger kids don't show that emotion that kids used to show. And so I'm asking Ethan a lot, like, "Hey, bro, you all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." You,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
these kids today are different, boy.
No, I don't know whether are you having fun. Do you want to be here? He's like, yeah, Dad. But it's just they just so even killed. Sometimes I don't know whether that's just this newer, younger generation or what, man. But I'm trying to get this one. No trophies
No
on the
doubt.
wall unless it's first place.
No doubt. Hey man, I had a question for everybody up here, man. I would start with Lando, man, and we just go across. We go Lando, Pablo, then we go Cal, and we go Doc. Um, what's the coolest thing about being a dad, man? What's the coolest thing about being a dad?
Uh,
Man, coolest thing about being a dad, man. Man. All right, so I have a daughter. Coolest thing about being a dad, a girl, what do you call it, girl dad, man, is that you get to shape that, man. You get to be that hero, man. You get to be the example of what, what she should look for in a man, right? And just when your daughter comes to you, man, and man, it's hard to explain, but it's something about a girl, man, like that just it makes you a better man, man. You don't want to see that hurt on her, man. When something's bothering her, it bothers me, right? And just knowing that I'm a safe place for her, that's one of the coolest things ever, man. That my daughter can tell me anything, man. And then my boys, man, it's just hanging out with them, man. Just being, watching sports, going to games, or just hanging out, man. Just like being with the boys, man. Like, but those are your boys, you know what I'm saying? And like, and you get to lead them, man. And man, it's just like, yeah, man. To boys, it's to me the coolest part is just hanging out with my boys, man. You know what I'm saying? Just kicking it, man. Not even doing anything, man. Just cool, just kicking it. And then when you see them accomplish things, man, that they set out to do, like one of my greatest joys, man, is watching my boy play football on Friday nights. Man, NFL, none of that compares to that, man. Even when I competed, man, and was winning, there's nothing compares to me watching my son light it up on the football field, man. That's one of the coolest things ever, man. And then my boy Jackson, man, he's just like you said, Pap. He's so laid back, man. He's mature beyond his years. He's just a cool cat, man, and we can just kick it, man. So to me, it's just like being that safe space for your daughter and just being able to kick it with your boys, man. That's the coolest thing to me about being a dad.
Yeah. No doubt.
well,
Pablo.
well, I think the coolest thing for me, like my boys is 22 and 17. And I think I'm starting to notice that my oldest do a lot of things like me, and I don't haven't even like I haven't even said it to him or taught him or nothing. And like I used to be very, 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 very protective of my wife. I was always the protector, big time. And I'm starting to see like him do that to his mother.
Right.
And like I be somewhere else and they don't know I'm listening. He's like, where you going? He's talking to his mother. Where you going? Well, why are you wearing that right there? And I'm just,
Right.
This is my oldest talking to her, like, and he calls her every day and stuff like that. And they really close, but I'm starting to see a lot of me in him, which is a great thing because they're good qualities. And that's the big part about it. They're very, very good qualities. And I love it. Now my youngest, with him, the fact that he just he's okay with being who he is, and he's when he does anything, he's always he's not trying to follow, Elijah's footsteps. He's making his own path, but he's always pushing forward, and like they're like very, very protective of each other. And I noticed that, and I love that. I think the coolest part is just watching them grow up and do positive things, whether with each other or whether I love to watch them. And I can't hang with them because we don't like it. So
man, that's dope. That's dope, man. That's super dope. Man.
Love the boy, love him. That's
no doubt. Cal, we'll get in there, Cal.
Yeah, for me, man, it's just watching them blossom. Like my youngest, she started playing volleyball 2 years ago. Now she's on the national level team. Like Philando was saying, watching his son play football, that's the same. I mean, just watching your kids flourish at anything they do is just amazing. And also just being that safe space for them. I'm still cool, Dad. Like a lot of people say, oh, your daughters, when they hit a certain age, they don't like you for a couple years and then they come back around. I fortunately I never went through that. My daughter, I don't hound her. She's 18, she's in school, but she'll call me, walk into class, just want to kick it, check on me, see how I'm doing. It's just that validation that I did something right. And I try not to hawk over them and trust that I gave them the right. My wife and I both gave them the right, skills to make good decisions. And so far, so good. But that's just the coolest thing, watching them be themselves and develop into themselves and their own self. And they're quirky, they're funny, they're smart, they're everything that I'm not. You know what I mean? I tell them all the time they get the brains from their mom, because both of them are extremely smart and they're successful at whatever they put their mind to. So it's a blessing for me to just sit back and know that I got a little something to do with that.
All right.
All right, get in there, Doc.
Kind of along the lines of Brother Kyle here, man. Just honestly, just having a front row seat, man, to their development, growth, and maturity, man. It's amazing how they can go from being these small infants to these very mature, bright and charismatic individuals, man. And I think that's the coolest thing about being a dad. And for me, what's even more cooler is to hear how other people talk about them to me.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it gives me great joy to hear people tell me how they are when me and my wife aren't around and we're not watching, to know that presence is still there and they're understanding how to represent themselves and always make fairly good decisions, man. So it's the best job in the world, man.
She said you're welcome.
That's the same to me, man. Just overall, just watching them grow up, man.
Yeah, it's the best job in the world. Man.
But going into it, man, I wanted to before Philando, I'm gonna give it back to Philando, man. But
just perhaps say something.
Since I've known Dr. Jasper and his wife and his kids, you know what I'm saying? You guys are the dopest family when it comes to Halloween, man.
Man, yes,
oh my God, bro.
You guys are the
That's the wife. That's the wife.
That's the wife. Okay.
This is my creative wife, my brother. Listen, man. We were babies, bro. She was going in, man. They've gone viral a couple times.
Yeah.
Easy, like, it was almost like we had like a funeral around here when they were old enough to be like, nah, we
ain't doing that.
No more, yeah.
Man, we were on the street for a minute, but that's all her, man. I'm just here to whatever my character is for Halloween.
Right.
If I'm involved, I'm involved. If not, she's like, this year we gonna do Fat Albert, we gonna do rap, we gonna do Wu-Tang. I'm like, come on, man.
That was one of my favorite ones, the Wu-Tang
Nah,
joint.
man, the Muhammad Ali one and
Oh,
the
yeah.
Jackie
Oh,
Robinson, bro,
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
dopest
Muhammad Ali,
ever, bro.
yeah.
Jackie Robinson, I believe it was, man. That was dope, bro. That was that was all your wife.
He started doing like concept videos with it.
Right,
At first it was just photos. Then it turned into like a whole production, man. And that's all her, bro.
right,
That's
right,
what's
right.
up. That's
I'm
what's
just
You
up.
know what's
green light, man.
I just want to say one thing, man. When Pap said that, you start noticing they do things like you, man. I was coaching a football game just recently, a flag football game, and my wife was taking pictures, and me and my son walk the same, and we stand she got a picture of us. It was like we are freaking twins, bro. Like she actually had a video. We were in step with each other. We both stand with our hand on the hip right there. When I lean down, he's leaning. Man, that when Pap said that immediately came back to my mind. But back to you, Jasper, man. My boy Cohen. That's the dopest kid I ever met, bro.
That's my
guy, bro. That's my guy, dog.
What y'all don't know is as I was getting on the live, he was standing right over my right shoulder, like, yo, bro, I want to be in the video, homie.
Put him in the video, dog. Put him on. That's my dog.
Hey, tell him candy gang forever, man. I kept him candied up.
Hey, listen, what
Y'all
y'all
used to be mad at me.
my middle son, Caleb.
Caleb, my boy, man.
Listen, man, Biz would
My favorite.
take that boy to the concessions, and Caleb would come back with every type of candy. And I'm like, where you get that from? He like, Coach Tony. And Tony be in the background like, yo, man, you gotta take care of my boy. I'm like, man,
I love it.
man.
Yeah.
Like, man, Coach Tony always show me love to this day.
But that's what you, man, that just like you said, man, the way y'all raised them, man, they was just great kids, man. Every time I seen, like, he never asked me for anything at the concession stand. He just came over there one day and I was ordering up and I said, hey, look, Jasper, you want something? He said, well, some candy.
Of course.
And from there, it was all the way on, man. Yeah, it was all the way on.
Hey, I put my dog in at corner, boy, in that 707.
Listen,
They thought because he was 4 feet tall, shut everything down.
we just met via this platform, but I will say this, brother. I'm gonna give these brothers their flowers, man. They've known each one of my children since they were younger, including my daughter. And this myth that strong and great black men don't exist here to help their communities is just that, because these three brothers are a testament to the idea that they have accepted the responsibility, man, to help take care of their communities, man. Each one of them has taken care of children, multiple children,
right,
who are not their own, and treat them as if they are their own, including mine, brother. And I couldn't be more grateful that I've come across these men and the models they've been for my children and for me as a man. And I can tell just talking to you, brother Kyle, that you cut from the same cloth, my brother.
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Appreciate
That's
it.
why I brought him on, man. Like Cal and I have a lot of conversations, man. Cal's one of my dudes. Like, man, I could not talk to him for 6 months. We get on the phone. We just talked on the phone the other day for like an hour.
Yo,
Like,
we
it
had to
just
get off
flows,
the phone.
man.
It was like, yo, I gotta go.
Yeah, like, but that's what you need in your life, man. You need brothers like that, man. Like, it just goes without saying, man. I can, like what we talked about the other day, Pab. You got your 6 p.m. friends, and then you got Cal will put me up on that. You got your 6 p.m. friends, and you got your 3 a.m. friends. And I feel like all you guys are my 3 a.m. friends, man. Like, yo, if I hit you up at 3 a.m., yo, bro, where you at? What's going on? I'm on the way. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all need that, man. And I think I know I'm very fortunate to have that with you guys, man. So I like you said, give you flowers, man. I give you all flowers, man. I salute you guys, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Love it.
Well, brothers, it's been amazing. It's been real.
Absolutely.
Like I said, man, I created this Men's Club Monday, man, because I did want to create a safe space for us to come in and just be vulnerable and just talk, no judgment, man, just all, advice, and just, sometimes we just need people to listen to us, man. So there's somebody out there that we touch, man, that's going through some of the things we spoke about. And I'm just grateful, man, that, this is something I'm able to do, man. And, it's a thankless job sometimes, but man, listen, bro, the old cliche, if one person is helped, man, we all did our job, bro. So absolutely. I salute you, brothers, man. Like, man, listen, let's keep it going, man. Let's keep the dialogue going, brothers.
Hey, make sure you invite me back. I want to be a part.
You're on the panel, brother. You ain't got no choice.
All right, there you go.
You got the right end, bro. So,
there you go.
Hey, man, like I said, man, I'm going to do my best to bring you guys the greatest, the most informational, just informative information, super dope content with super dope people, man. And listen, like I always say, man, I appreciate you guys' support, and I'll see you soon.
No doubt.
All right, fellas, salute.